Leavenworth, your current county treasurer. It's a pleasure to speak with you this evening. Some of you may know, may not know, my wife Becky and I have lived in Leavenworth with our 6 children for 6 years. Our family, we're very involved in our family and church. Actually, the most important things to us are our family and our church. We're very involved in our local church. I currently became the leader of the men's group for our church, and I also teach 5 and 6 year olds at the local Trail Life in Leavenworth. So I'm going to start by letting you know some of the things I've accomplished in my first 3 long months as treasurer, and some things that I have that I would like to do going forward. Right at the outset, we lost our chief deputy, a very, very, very high-paid chief deputy. I made the decision to promote some people and not backfill that position. I figured out pretty quick that we could get the same amount of work done without spending the extra money to replace that position. I also unfortunately had to let someone go at the annex that just wasn't going to work out. And more recently, I eliminated an overpaid and unnecessary position. All of that combined is about $150,000, and that's not including benefits or employer taxes. Now, I'm right now in the process of hiring a clerk because we really do need a clerk, and that's a entry-level position, so that's a smaller amount of money. But even with hiring a new clerk and giving promotions, and I gave some raises to some clerks that have been overlooked and did a fantastic job and desperately needed, they earned their raises. But even outside of doing that, we're still looking at $100,000 a year in payroll savings, and I don't think that's an insignificant amount. My first week in office, the DirecTV bill came across my desk. At first, I was a little puzzled. I was like, we have DirecTV? Turns out it was a TV at the annex that was being used for people to entertain themselves watching the news for a few minutes while they waited in the lobby. I decided that was not a good use of taxpayer money. We got rid of that, and that saved the county another $1,200 a year. In January, March, we got the tax distributions out on schedule. I don't know if she explained that, but we bring the money in, and then about 5 or 6 times a year, the treasurer doles that money out or distributes it so all the entities such as the schools, the cities, townships, fire departments, etc., etc. It's fairly complicated. It's percentages, but that is something that absolutely has to happen. It's statutorily required by the treasurer. We got that accomplished, and I'm currently sending out, actually I mailed out today the 2025 estimates for next year's taxes for those same entities. Let's see, on the changes I'm going to make going forward, historically the tax distributions have went out via check in the mail. Starting in the May distribution, I'm going to switch that all over to ACH payments. First of all, it is more efficient. The money goes in the bank immediately. Second of all, it's more secure. We don't have to worry about the check getting lost in the mail. And third of all, it's going to save the county money, which is what we want to do. I'm also talking with the bank right now about implementing some systems that they now have with new technology to help prevent or identify fraud on the backside at the bank level. So it gives another layer of protection to the taxpayers' money on the banking side. We're also talking about implementing a new credit card system, which would once again save the taxpayers more money. In February, I attended it's a long word, the Kansas County Treasurers Association Legislative Conference. And then also in March, I attended the Kansas Association of Counties budgeting class. Let's see, very soon, I am actually going to be presenting to the Board of County Commissioners a request to audit my office. Some of you know, some of you may not know, that $10,000 at least was taken out of the treasurer's office in 2019. I spoke with the accounting firm that audited that. As near as I can tell, they stopped counting at 10,000. There was never any indictments, and it was never really put to rest. So I want to go back and revisit that, because I think the county deserves to know what happened and how much of their money's gone. I also would like to look at some other audits in the future. Obviously, I can't do all of this in a half a term. It's going to require me getting re-elected to really verify the health of the Treasurer's office and make sure that all the money is accounted for. One thing that I am not is a career politician. I'm coming from the private sector. In the private sector, when there's money left over at the end of the year, that's called profit, and that's primarily the goal in business. From what I've seen, generally government entities, when you give them a budget, they figure out a way to spend every single dime of that by the end of the year.
Yep.
Now, I can't necessarily call money that I save out of my budget profit because we didn't earn it and it's your money. But I still think that it's a good thing that money's left over at the end of the year. We don't need to spend that entire budget. Let's see, lose my place here. So anyway, I'm looking for ways. I'm running the office like a business because I came from the private sector, and I'm looking for ways to spend money. Even if it's small amounts of money, all those small amounts of money add up, and they add up to something, and that's money that can be used for other things. Like, it doesn't need to just get eaten away in the treasurer's office by unnecessary spending. I did not recently decide that I was Republican. I was thinking about it, and my entire extended family, and going back at least 3 generations, I cannot think of a single Democrat. I come from a long line of Christian conservatives. As a matter of fact, when I was in my early 20s, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh in my car at lunch. I got hooked. I loved Rush. I listened to Rush for years, except for one presidency where I just could not tolerate listening to him any further. But I came up with an idea early in my listening to Rush, and I always wanted to call into his radio show and tell him because I think he really appreciated it. Unfortunately, I never got the chance, but I actually wanted to add Rush's likeness to Mount Rushmore and rename it Mount Rush and More. Yeah? I'm telling you, it's brilliant. Rush was truly an American treasure and is dearly missed. But seriously, I'm diametrically opposed to everything that the Democrats believe in and promote. I am pro-Second Amendment to the core, I'm pro-police, I am pro-border control, I am a strict constitutional conservative, most importantly, I am pro-life. I'm in fact so pro-life that the local Sparrow Clinic here in town is gearing up to elect me as a new board member and treasurer. Treasurer of course. Now here recently I was at something and there was a treasurer from another county in Kansas, and they asked the question, what does it matter if the treasurer is pro-life? Like, what does it have to do with anything? Who cares if the treasurer is pro-life? Well, I'm going to answer that question. If you champion a woman killing her own child in her womb, there is no moral jump from that to lying, deceit, and theft. But if you understand that life in the womb was created in the image of God and has incalculable value, that is a pretty good place to start for a character of honesty and respect and compassion. And along the lines of compassion, I honestly don't like to talk about myself. I like to just do my thing, and I don't go around saying, hey, look at me, but I will tell you a quick story about something that happened in the courthouse, just so you can understand my character and the person I am and what I bring to the courthouse. One day I was walking out of my office to the restroom, and I looked to my left, and I noticed that there was a lady sitting on the bench she was crying. And I immediately walked over to her and I said, ma'am, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? It turns out her husband had just recently been tragically killed, and I sat there for 15 minutes and I talked to her, and I finally said, ma'am, can I pray for you? And she said, oh my gosh, that'd be wonderful. So I sat right there and asked for God to give her peace. And I have a character of honesty and compassion, and I feel like I bring something that is really lost in the culture today. We just don't have a whole lot of that anymore. And it's not all about the spreadsheets, and it's not all about the the budgets, and there's just more to it than that. I truly care about every person that walks into the courthouse, including my staff. I have a wonderful staff. I recently received 2 emails. One was from a military officer and one was from a private citizen. And they were both talking about how our staff members just went above and beyond to help them with their situation. And I don't know, if you've been alive for very long and you've been to any government offices, you know that above and beyond is probably not what you were thinking. But in our office, these people are just fantastic. Every day I see them just literally going out of their way to help people. They answer the phone nice. They're just a wonderful staff, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate them. On Valentine's Day, I was going out of town to go to a conference, and I actually went up to the courthouse the night before, really late, and I made a sticker with each employee's name, and I put it on a box of chocolates, and I put it on all their desks. And the next morning on my way to Topeka, I stopped at the annex, and I did the same thing. Because I strive for them to understand that I appreciate them, and that they're doing a good job, and they're fantastic. I just can't say how fantastic they are. So what about the elections? The elections this year. I'm always hearing from conservatives how everybody wants a true conservative in office. We absolutely need people who are true conservatives that believe in our values to take these offices and fill these positions. I know that there's at least one city councilman around here somewhere that's been in office for 20 years. That's long enough. It's time to move on. We need new people that hold our Republican conservative values in these offices. Topeka, Washington, local city councils, school boards, and I would like to submit that school board elections are possibly more important than the presidential election. We are losing a generation in these schools to liberal indoctrination, and we are going to lose our country if we don't get people elected with some common sense. It's a war that we have to fight and we have to win. But point by point by point, I am a conservative. I am the kind of conservative that everybody says that they want in these offices to serve in these positions. So I would be more than happy to have your vote in August. I've enjoyed what I'm doing so far. If anybody would like a sign, just talk to me afterwards. And I look forward to serving you another 4 years as County Treasurer. Thank you.